amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are connecting from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much and remain blessed. Whenever you look my video, whenever you watch my video, share the video to all platforms. Share it to family and friends. Share it in your WhatsApp group so that people can get information on what is happening in the contraption called Nigeria, mainly against the Biafrans, against the Duduas, against the indigenous people in the contraption called Nigeria. I try as much as possible to set the record straight. I don't preach hate speech. I don't speak against people. I set the record straight. The only important thing I do here is to make sure that the plight of the people remains on the front burner and the world will know the true story of what is going on in the contraption called Nigeria.
Declined some years back. Well, okay, the price has been going up a bit now since that, should I say, infamous attack of Russia on Ukraine. And this has, of course, affected the economy of Nigeria and the gas and oil industry in Nigeria. Although the PIA, as it is known now, has been signed by the president, we still see that it hasn't made too much of a difference on the sector. Why is this so? Well, this and many more questions I'm going to be putting to our panel this morning, and the panel is made up of Mr. Kayode Ekundayo, who is publisher and editor-in-chief of Energy Times. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
He is in our studio in Lagos. In our studio in Abuja is Mr. Ademola Henry Adigun, who is he's an oil sector governance consultant. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we also have Mr. Etuk Etiese, who is Regional Superintendent, Clean Nigeria Associates Limited, Port Harcourt. Good morning, Mr. Etiese. Okay, we don't have him with us yet. Right. Let me start with Mr. Ekundayo here in the studio. Mr. Ekundayo, can you please source this out for us? Oil prices are getting higher. We are an oil-producing nation, and yet we are making less money from it.
Yes.
Can you please connect the dots for us and tell us how we arrived at this pass?
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, the crude oil price is rising at international markets, which in any way should have been
a blessing.
A blessing to Nigeria, but unfortunately, it's other way. The reason why it has been that is that Nigeria is not producing at the full capacity given by OPEC. Right now, Nigeria, even if you look at the January-February production, they've been offering between 1.4, 1.3 instead of 1.8 million barrels per day, which allocated by OPEC.
How many per day?
1.3, 1.4 per day.
Okay.
January, February. Now, OPEC allocates 1.8 to Nigeria as a member country.
Yeah.
Now, Nigeria predicated its budget, this year budget, on 1.88 million barrels per day, which, if we are producing at full capacity, it will have been a blessing for us. But right now, we are not even meeting the OPEC quota, which is, we are offering between 1.3, 1.4 daily. Mm-hmm. So we are sorting of almost 400,000 barrels per day, which are an indication of losing almost $40 million per day. Ouch. So unfortunately, we couldn't meet up to that. And there are issues on ground that actually responsible for that. For instance, in January, the sorting by the oil companies is almost 2.2 million barrels for 1 month in January. Now, when you look at February, it's higher than that. And, you know, these things moving into power sector, and that's what responsible for what happened last 2 weeks, where we have system collapse. It's as a result of that's a jeep sorting down one of its facilities, which giving gas to Kwali power plant, and that responsible. And that power plant supply almost 480 megawatts to the Nigerian national grid.
Great. Unfortunately,
that thing was shut down, and that's responsible for what we had, the system collapse. And the reason why we cannot make up to getting enough money is additional the fact that the community development are not looking up, and even the implementation of PIA has not yet started. And that is, all those things are responsible for those challenges.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Ekundayo. We need to quickly nip to Abuja and find out exactly what is happening with the APC convention. Good morning, Terry. How are you doing? Hello, Terry.
Well, hello, if you can hear me. We're live at the Eagle Square, and not much is happening here yet because the delegates have not arrived. They're supposed to start arriving at 10. We're not seeing them yet, but it's quite a busy house already here at the Eagle Square. The members of the CECPC are expected to start arriving from 1:30 p.m. The president is expected to arrive at 3:15 p.m. and this event is expected to kick off at 3:30 p.m. If you look around me, the stands are still empty. Yes, the stage is set, but not much is happening yet. Security has been beefed up here. Every area around me has been cordoned off. There are stands for the different states as well as stands for international observers here. And to a great extent, voting is supposed to start at 6:30 p.m. here. And the number of consensus candidates will determine how long this event will run. We understand there are some aggrieved parties who are not comfortable with some consensus agreements, but it does seem that to a great extent there are people who have agreed that certain consensus candidates should go. If you take around me, take a look around. The voting points have been set up around, and the stands are still empty for now. All around the Eagle Square is littered with people, visitors who have come into the Federal Capital Territory to take part. But the security is so tight that not everyone is allowed in here, basically because the president will be here in a moment. But I can assure you that the activity outside the Eagle Square is even louder than what's happening in the Eagle Square, because these delegates have come in with their people, the governors have come in with their people as well, and they've set up camps at different locations around the Eagle Square. And hundreds of meters around the Eagle Square have been cordoned off in such a way that you cannot have access to this place using a vehicle, and if you don't have security clearance to an extent, you can't come here. So we await how long this will take, and if this event will go according to the scheduled timing. Back to you.
When is the president expected?
The president is expected to arrive at 3:15 p.m. The event will then kickstart at 3:30 p.m.
But you're expecting delegates to start, they should have started coming in at 10 o'clock this morning, right?
Can you say that again, please?
I said the delegates were expected to have been coming in from 10.
For now, the delegates are not here yet. We expect them. They are scheduled to start coming in at 10 o'clock, and this is about 10:14 p.m. So delegates are supposed to start coming in from 10 till about 1:30 p.m. when the CECPC members will start coming in.
Okay, then. Thank you, Terry. Are there any policemen in sight, by the way?
Can you say that again, please?
Are there any policemen in sight? Remember, they were supposed to begin their strike today. Do you see any policemen around?
No, it's filled with policemen. Oh, absolutely. It's actually filled with policemen. We have more policemen than any other security agents.
So there's no issue of any policemen
So no, I
going
don't
on
think
strike.
that strike affects the policemen here.
Okay, then. Terry, do stay out of trouble, and we'll come back to you later for some more update. Thank you very much. Terry Ikumi from Abuja, from Eagle Square, Abuja. Yes. You were telling us how we arrived at this pass. Now, let me go to Mr. Adigun. Mr. Adigun, we are told that one of the reasons why our, well, not output, our sale of crude oil has diminished is because of oil theft. And the figures they give us are humongous. And crude oil is not something that you can put in your pocket and run away with. So how do you think that those who are stealing this oil are able to get away with stealing so much of it and depriving the nation of its income, of its rightful income?
It's a very complicated issue about oil theft. The issues there are very, very complicated. This problem started many, many years ago when it was between 80 to 100,000 barrels. Then we moved to about 200 to 50,000 barrels. Now we get to a point where we are told that over 90% of production is being stolen. There are many, many issues around it. There are issues around institutional arrangements. There are issues around host communities. There are issues around the security system itself being wired to enable it. I mean, it's like you said, you can't put, you can't carry this crude in jerry cans. Any volume that goes to 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 barrels means there's a support by the institutions around it. So we're in a very, very messy crisis. I've been told that in the last 2-3 months, average theft was more than 65% of what was produced. I mean, both by the IOCs, both by the IPPG and everybody. And that tells you there's something wrong we're not thinking about. As Kayode said earlier on, our losses are not only from volume. Our losses include losses from the barrel. In the last 10 years or 11 years, the returns on a barrel has been declining because there's been higher cost of production, there's more inefficiencies in the system and such. So when you combine loss of volume, declining take, and then you add subsidy into the mix, then we're really in a very terrible situation. Right now, for Nigeria, what's optimum for us in terms of a crude oil price barrel is $65. Anything above that brings losses to the system because the higher the cost of a barrel of crude, the higher the cost of products. The higher the cost of products, the higher the cost of subsidizing. So there's a complicated issue around the whole barrier. So oil theft is one issue. Decline take on a volume based on what fiscal arrangements are there. Institutional arrangements in terms of securizing the pipelines and others are there. And in fact, government policies and direction are also there. So that's the whole reason why we're not benefiting much from this increase in oil prices.
Mr. Adigo, what a lot of us who are not in the industry have in mind is that because of technology, the issue of how the crude oil gets to the vessel, how it gets to, well, we don't have any refineries that are working now, how these things move are technology-driven. So how is it that these oil thieves are still managing to beat all that technology and get away with all the oil that they're getting away with?
I wouldn't say technology is very advanced right now in Nigeria. I mean, what I know is that we have about 5,130 kilometers of pipeline, and then maybe for deep sea, we have about 2,000 kilometers of pipeline. I don't think it's well manned technologically. I think right now, it's still a lot of issues around it. We have a complex problem. I know there are companies that have been giving contracts to secure pipelines. I know yearly, NPS pays a lot of money to pipelines security companies. I know there's a lot of expenditure on that. I mean, NPC's reports estimate that in the last how many years, we spent about $12 billion on pipeline securitization. So for me, it beats my imagination as well. The only thing I can say is there has to be collision. These are not volumes you steal based on breaking a pipe alone. There are a lot of things that must happen. When a lot of people are saying, look, we'd rather shut down than produce for everything we've produced to be stolen, that tells you there's something wrong with the whole arrangement. I mean, we've had JTF in that area for how many years? JTF has been in the Niger Delta for 18, 20 years. Nothing has changed. It's getting worse by the moment. So there's a need to rethink the whole industry. Now, the PIA is being implemented, so it has started. That has started. Now, it's not as fast as we ought to be, but there are a lot of complications around that as well, around the PIA implementation process as well, which again complicates all matters. So for Nigerians, we need to sort of think about this oil economy better than we are right now. I mean, we're getting to a stage whereby last month, what was available for domestic allocation was less than 400,000 barrels, even less than what is necessary to import the products we bring into the country. So it's complicated and complex. I know there's been a lot of meetings. I know the Commission has had meetings with the military. I know there's a lot of discussions, but what we see is discussions. We don't see any actions. There has to be a time when we start about privatization of the pipeline process and allow the people that can manage these things to take charge of it. What we're doing right now is not working. We are in a mess, in a very terrible mess. You're losing 3/4 of what you're producing on a daily basis. There's no economy that can survive that. There's no economy that depends so much on the product that can live on this. So there's a need to a lot of thinking. And again, like you in your intro, that PIA must be implemented as well as possible. I get surprised and shocked when I hear we want to amend it to cater for subsidy, amend it for this. You spent 25 years to get to this point. Now you get to the point again, you want to start changing the laws you've not implemented. So there's a lot of trouble in the sector, and I don't think we're paying the right attention to it. I think a lot of people are playing politics with the sector rather than talking about issues. And this is the economy that this product brings up most of your earnings. I mean, right now, budget contribution is about 38%. FX earnings, 90%. Who messes with so much of something of so much value and lets it slide as it is? So there are a lot of issues, but it's not technology-driven as of now. Technology is not what we use there. It's still old-driven. So pipelines, some of them are very old. Some of them there needs to be investment in pipelines. Some of them have been compromised for a long time. But there are institutional collaboration. You don't take away 400,000 barrels of crude in jerry cans. You don't take them away in boats. You put them in a barge. You take them to the high sea. There has to be issues around the Navy. There are issues around all the elements. Around the Niger Delta, there are about 13 agencies responsible for securitizing the crude oil production. What's happening to all of them?
And no agency has been called out yet. Anyway, let me bring in Dr. Etu Ketiese, Regional Superintendent, Clean Nigeria Associates Limited, Port Harcourt. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you, everyone.
There you are. Now, the Minister of State for Petroleum, Timipre Silva, said that the PIA will assist Nigeria in increasing its production to 4 million barrels a day. Some have said that that's a pipe dream. What do you think?
Well, actually, it is a fact that if the proper PIA is done, that will boost production. But however, in proper implementation of the PIA process and protocols is what will form a higher determinant of the success factor in the whole process. So a mere statement of the fact will not lead to actualization if intensive and due diligence is not done in terms of the implementation. Thank you.
Mr. Ekundayo, yes, 4 million barrels per day. How soon are we looking at achieving that? I mean, that would be fantastic for Nigeria, but can we achieve it?
Thank you. Actually, 4 million barrels per day is a long dream. The reason why I said that is based on the fact that this crisis we have in the Niger Delta today and the slow pace.
Do we have crisis in the Niger Delta?
Yes, the crisis is this different. Fundamentalism of pipeline and all those things. It's a challenge for the country. And one of the reasons why we can't meet up is because of this declaration of force majeure. When there is a crisis on the pipeline, they declare it, and you can't take it away from the oil company. And the most thing that affecting most now are the indigenous oil companies who are buying into onshore facilities. And that's why some of these oil companies are divesting their interest from onshore, moving into the deep water. Because deep water is safer. It's easy to, it's costly, but it's safer.
To manage,
It's easy to manage. But when you have it on the online, I mean on the surface, and there's a lot of loss. And that is the reason, one of the reasons that we can't meet the 4 million barrels per day.
Let's talk about the local refineries, especially in the Niger Delta, of course. We understand that a number of them, I think more than 30 of them were found and shut down. I mean, we saw clips of Governor Wike actually himself leading teams of security forces to go and shut them down himself. Those people who are refining crude in the Niger Delta, they get their crude from somewhere.
Yes.
Like Mr. Adigun said in Abuja, there's the Navy involved, there's the customs involved, all kinds of agencies involved. Yes. How come none of them has been called out for aiding and abetting our crude going into different corridors, as they say in Yoruba?
That is what Mr. Adigun is trying to say. It's a complicated issue. And if you look around the Niger Delta, there was a time we did an investigation and we discovered that it's over 1,000 points of refining are based in that oil-producing stage. And the more you are destroying them, the more they are springing up.
Over 1,000.
Over 1,000.
And they all get adequate supply.
Yes, and they get supply from pipeline vandalism. And they refine this product.
NNPC.
And if you remember, in 2016, when Vice President visited the Niger Delta region, he promised them that they will be constituted into modular refinery. And even last year, I remember the Minister of State for Environment did say the same thing, that they are going to form a team modular refinery for this small group of people. Till now, nothing happened. Till now, nothing happened. I think one of the strategy governments will have used to curtail these challenges should have been setting up this small refinery and help this small technology they are using to vandalize pipeline, to divert it into the having small modular refinery, which they can operate to bring money to their economy. But right now, we don't have them. And they are spread across locations in the Niger Delta, almost over 1,000 places where we have those facilities. And that is one of the reasons why this vandalism will continue, because I won't say connivance between the security personnel and the people in the Niger Delta, but up to this moment, nobody among the personnel have been accused or even arrested for partaking in this criminality.
Mr. Adigun, what is the position of our joint venture business, so to speak, with the IOCs?
Joint ventures, cash call areas.
Sorry, can you start? Can you start again? Can you start again? We didn't hear you from the beginning.
PIA,
can you start again?
Right. I said, okay. I said right now it's tenors. Tenors in the sense that there are debts owed joint venture partners by NNPC. There are cash call arrears that have not been paid. Earlier on in the Buhari government, a lot of payments were made, but then the arrears built up again. Right now, a lot of people want to exit joint venture business. Like Kayode said, it's more PSCs are better than joint ventures. Although from PSCs, production sharing contracts, we earn less from joint ventures. And right now, I know the contribution of PSCs to the income is about 40% of all business. We have a situation in the country where the whole business is badly managed as it is. NNPC, under the PIA now, has become a commercial entity. But NNPC in behavior has not behaved like a commercial entity. I mean, I still hear NNPC issuing out policies, regulations, and I say, well, NNPC, you're not the law now, you're a commercial entity. The only people who should be hearing speak about policy and regulations are the commission and the authority. That hasn't happened. There's still an interest in micromanaging the whole space, which is one of the things that's killed business. The other issue is, again, that you propose an incompetent joint venture partnership and the PIE. You put a lot of good incentives in the fiscals, but then implementation is bad. And at one point, I wanted you to note in terms about the dividend returns. Our country is plagued by impunity. Governor Wike shut down a lot of illegal refineries, but not one person was arrested. Not one person has been prosecuted. Not one person has been dealt with. Whenever you have a situation whereby people know they can get away with something, it will keep on happening. Exactly. And we have a situation whereby, if it wasn't because of the suit, nobody was going to do anything about it. It was a suit that prompted action. But ordinarily, by using a heat map, you know where all these refineries were. They were not heating. I mean, everybody knows where to buy local diesel, buy local petrol, and other things. So it was not a secret. But then, because nobody cares, there's no care. I mean, there's a politics element, the political element that subsumes efficiency and such. So nobody really cares about it. Now, if it doesn't come to the point where we are almost at the point of breakdown, no action will be taken. So we have a system of governance that is the poorest in all of the OPEC countries. We have a governance system where people don't really want to function. It's easier to stay in Abuja and talk about what's happening rather than do things. Kayode mentioned something I'd like to expand upon. There was a plan to support illegal refineries by bringing them into speed. But you see, one thing people fail to realize is modern refineries themselves are not cheap. I mean, an average modern refinery will cost you between $23 and $30 million to build. Exactly. And one of the things that makes these illegal refineries profitable for them is because the oil is free. All they do is break the pipeline, carry the crude, heat it up, and produce products. Now, when you now bring them into a situation whereby they have to add against environmental issues, get licenses, do things properly, there's a cost element. People that have been earning supernatural profits on the product don't want to go to a point where the product line is there. And again, these refineries employ thousands of people. Our estimate is that in the legal refineries, over 28,000 people are employed in the value chain, from those who break the pipelines, those who bring the crude, those who refine it, those who sell it.
Ouch.
In fact, there are pictures where you see NNPC tankers going to buy products from these legal refineries. So we're living in a complicated situation whereby the governance is still very poor. The PIA has been there, but I have not seen the commission step up to its billing. I haven't seen the authority step up to its billing. I still see an NPC trying to be in control of everything. So until we sort out governance issues properly, Nigeria will not derive value from crude oil. And again, to add, one of the things the PIA is trying to do is ensure that we stop selling the crude. Because what we've been doing for the past 30 years is selling crude alone. And every time you sell a barrel of crude, you lose a lot of value. It's like when you take yam and you sell yam without adding any value to it.
So we need to add value.
When you can use crude to produce petrol, produce other additives, which gives you a corresponding value increment across the chain. So I think, again, in summary, governance is not being sorted out. That needs to be sorted out.
Yeah, Mr. Echuk, this issue of these illegal refineries, Mr. Adekun just said that there are about 28 million people involved in the business. That's a large number of young people who have been given employment, so to speak. Isn't there any way that we can actually deal with them so that they become regulated, so that the business is something that the quality of products that come out of those places can actually be checked and certified okay, so that they can join the mainstream oil fuel production in Nigeria?
Yes, obviously, that should be the way to go. Just as my colleagues have mentioned, if the government should do the needful by granting licenses and authorization for these local experts to do this informally and officially, there will be a lot of benefits and a lot of turnaround in the economy of the nation. Number one, the employment of the teeming youths that are unemployed will be drastically reduced, and then there will be value added to the whole process, because scientifically, laboratory analysis of the product from this illegal refinery to a large extent meets the standard specification of the quality of the product we get from outside this country.
Yes.
So
yes.
why not? So why not put this crude oil into our refineries, make the refineries working and functional to the maximum capacity, build more refineries, and then give licenses to these locals who have demonstrated competence over years, and that will help to bring down the cost of the product. That will help to also reduce the problem of employment, and that will help in a very large extent to stabilize our economy. So I want to support the fact that if the government of this nation should grant these local experts the licenses and the authority to carry on this, one, there will be reduction in environmental devastation, because this thing will be done legally, and then no issues of impacting negatively on the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So I think this is the way to go. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Kundayo.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no way we can talk about our dwindling oil returns without talking about the issue of subsidy.
Exactly.
And the figures we have heard lately are mind-boggling. Were they not over 3 trillion?
Yes.
In subsidy? And subsidy is not included in the PIA. So why is it so difficult for us to deal with this subsidy issue?
Without refinery, Nigeria will continue to subsidize its products, especially petroleum. And one of the reasons why we are not benefiting fully from the increase in the international crude oil price is the subsidy issue. We are exporting lower products, that's crude oil outside.
Yeah.
We are bringing expensive, high cost of fuel into the country at a subsidized rate. And the implication of that is that the economy will suffer most. Economy will suffer, and the money you are even talking about will be double by December if the crude oil price rises the way it's going, because the Ukraine and Russia war is still on, and nobody knows when it will end. And the longer the crisis goes, the longer the crude oil prices rises. And some people have even predicted that the crude oil price might reach $150 per barrel before the middle of this year. And if that happens, Nigeria will continue to pay high cost of subsidy. When we are bringing in high cost of fuel, we are exporting less products.
And we will have to pay
and
more
we have
at
to
the pump.
pay more of that.
At the pump.
And that's a big problem. And Nigeria doesn't want increase in pump price. And we can't blame them. We have to blame government. The refineries are there. Every year we keep on hearing increase in the turnaround maintenance every year.
Yeah.
Since I was born, there's no year they have done, our refinery have worked fully. We keep on hearing that, and that is a major problem for us. Look at Dangote refinery, very soon it will come on stream. How many years has it taken it to finish it? So I don't know why we are still, and I mean, look at some of these modular refineries. Some were licensed in 2020, in 2005. Up to this moment, none of them have come on stream. Only few, maybe 2 or 3, are trying to come up. And yet, we are still licensing more. Unfortunately, we couldn't source the fund to establish some of these, modular refineries. And thank God, even the Dangote refinery, once it comes on stream, is going to sell at international price to us. So there is no serious benefit coming from international, even to the local, except the refinery are functioning. And that is the reason why the labor union are insisting that federal government must make the refinery work before we talk about deregulation.
Yeah, Mr. Adigun, do you blame anybody who has a license to set up a refinery who hasn't done so when government is still controlling the price of the product that's going to come out of their factories, of their refineries?
Actually, I do not. I mean, I know there are 3 modular refineries in operation now. And I know that one more will come on stream before the end of June. And I know none of them is going to produce petrol in the short term. I mean, they'll produce diesel and other products. Diesel is deregulated and kerosene is regulated. That makes sense. Nobody will produce a product you cannot earn revenue on. It has to be profitable. If the cost of producing a barrel, a liter of petrol, assumption, say it's about $1 now, which is using the official exchange rate, it's about 519 naira. I am asked it at 160. Who's going to pay me the differential? There's a differential element that you won't pay me. So why would I invest? And this is not a charity business. You have to ensure the market forces determine the price of products before investors come into it. And I said to the labor union several times when discussions are taking place, producing locally might bring some relief in terms of cost, but will not eliminate subsidy unless we free the market. So the problem is complicated. The refineries were all good until 1991, when the government borrowed money for the repair of refineries to fund politics. And then from there were crises. And then over the years, they're struggling. And the problem is not refineries alone. There's a lot of issues around refineries. There's supply chain issues. Kaduna, for instance, gets its crude from Warri. There's 610 kilometers of pipeline. About only 210 are functioning. Now, if Warri can't get crude to Kaduna, Kaduna can't function. There are issues even around with the Warri refinery. You have to bring the crude in big ships, then you get small barges to carry to the refinery. A lot of inefficiencies and cost factors. Then there's cost of distribution. Right now, we use tankers. The pipelines are basically not working for most parts. That increases cost. So sometimes, funnily, I know people get angry or argue with this, importing might sometimes be cheaper than producing locally. But that's not the argument. The argument is this. Nigerians are already paying high price for inefficiency. We are paying high prices for electricity. We're paying high prices for taxis. The middle class is being suffocated. Then you want to increase petrol prices, which, again, there's an understanding because, again, the retail cost of it is higher. But then where do we now bring in the benefits to Nigerians? Nigerians haven't seen any benefit. But I, as an investor, would not produce a product I won't get my returns on. I will not produce petrol if I had a refinery, if the government will say, well, I can sell at only this price. Who will pay me the difference? Like you said now, we put 3 trillion in the budget for a refinery, 3 trillion naira. That is triple the cost of health, 4 times the cost of education, 5 times the cost of other amenities. Where is this money going to go into? We're basically subsidizing inefficiency, we're subsidizing waste, we're subsidizing corruption. And we have a system where the only benefiting from our crude oil now are our neighbors. Benin Republic is benefiting, Nigeria is benefiting, Togo is benefiting, Nigerians are not benefiting. We're consuming today and tomorrow because of the subsidy issue we're not dealing with. And I understand with the president when he said he wouldn't change subsidy prices because there's hardship. Inflation officially is about 15.7%. Increasing petrol prices means to jump to 18-19%, and there is already pain in the land. But the question is, can the country afford it? We can't. We're borrowing $2.2 billion. We have a bond to finance subsidy. Money we're not using to finance education. ASU is on strike. Money we're not using to finance health. I mean, every Nigerian is one health crisis away from being broke. You have one health crisis, you're already doing fund appeal. A kidney failure, you're asking your family to support you. Yet we're not investing in those areas where productivity can increase. We're investing in something that it's just a consumption. And again, I understand the plight of people. Income is dwindling. Every family now spends 60% of its income on food, or 70% on food. So why is the money for excesses again? So it's a complicated structure we have in the system.
It is very complicated indeed, and we just seem to be going from one problem to the next.
We will amend it. For me, that's the wrong thing to do.
Yes. I'm sorry, Mr. Adigun, we have to wind up at this stage, so I need to take your parting shot in 30 seconds only. Mr. Adigun, your parting shot in 30 seconds.
I can't hear anymore.
Okay.
Your parting shot in 30 seconds. Okay, Mr. Aitu, can you hear me?
Can you take it again, please?
Yes, give us your parting shot in 30 seconds, please. Mr. Adigun, can you hear me? Mr. Adigun cannot hear me. Mr. Aitu, your parting shot, please, in 30 seconds.
It's that the government should put our refineries working, get more refineries constructed, and then license these local experts to go ahead and do the thing legally. By so doing, unemployment rate will be reduced, and then the actual sabotage or willful intervention or damages of our oil facilities will come to an end. Thank you.
Mr. Kundayo.
Yes, I will want to see within the next 6 months licensing of some of these illegal refinery as promised by the Vice President in 2016, and what the Minister of Environment for State said that 18 refinery will be licensed in all the crude oil producing states. I will want to see that before the end of this year. And I will want to want to see that the PIB is fully implemented before the
PIA now.
I mean PIA. Sorry, is fully implemented before the end of this year, because these are the things that make the system work. These are the things that make the Nigerian oil sector great. Without this, we won't be able to achieve anything.
Mr. Kayode Kundayo, publisher and editor-in-chief at Energy Times, who was with us in our studio in Lagos. We also had Mr. Demola Adigun, oil sector governance consultant, who joined us from our studio in Abuja, even though he didn't have a chance to give us his parting shot. And we had Mr. Etuk Etiese, regional superintendent, Clean Nigeria Associates, Port Harcourt. Thank you all very much for coming to share your insights with us.
Thank you, ma'am.
This morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you, and remain blessed. Bye-bye. See you again.